You could also put a blank hundreds chart in here, and the advantage to that is that a student can practice writing all the way to 100 multiple times without using a bunch of pieces of paper. But what I think is really fun about it is that it gives them the opportunity to experiment. So for example, they might start like this, just the normal way, counting by ones. And then you might encourage your student to try counting by tens. They already got the 10 here, so they just keep going. And then once they have it all the way down, you could ask another question. You could ask them, okay, we counted by tens, does that work? And they can check and find out by filling in the rest of the second row. So they were at 10, 11, 12, and lo and behold, it gives you 20. So once they figure that out, you could point out to them, all of these ones end in a 0. And both of these have a 1. These both have a 2. These both have a 3. Do you think maybe there are 1s all the way down here, like there are 0s all the way down here? And your student could try to figure that out. So the next number here would go 19, 20, 21. And so for the first row, the first time you do it, you might give some extra guidance, like, okay, this one has a 1 and a 1. This one has a 2 and a 1. What do you think would come next? And that would be a 3 and a 1. 4 and a 1, 5 and a 1, 6 and a 1, 7, 8, 9. And then again, you could encourage your student, or maybe they'll do it themselves, to check their work and see if it makes sense. 20, 21, 29, 30, and that one worked out too. 30, 31, just like we thought it would. So a student might decide to just keep writing it in this way, or they might experiment and see if that pattern that they noticed here is true for every column. So they might do the 5s next and see if 3 and 5 works. 31, 32, 35. Well, how about that? It does work after all. And the point of this is for the student to have the opportunity to just try different ways of filling out the hundreds chart to see if they discover any patterns on their own. And you can ask leading questions or give them ideas of what to try. But the point of practicing the hundreds chart on the whiteboard is so that they can make mistakes and not worry about wasting a bunch of paper. One more thing I want to say about the hundreds chart is that you can point out patterns to a student, and for some students that will be helpful and they'll be able to figure it out, but for others it's just going to be frustrating and overwhelming because it just doesn't click for them. And for those students, it's going to be much more helpful to let them discover these patterns on their own, or maybe introduce it to them and then see if they can remember it by figuring it out themselves later. We want it to be intuitive, because if it's not intuitive, then they're not very likely to apply that method when using the chart on their own.